a track junkie. Full confession, I love driving cars on racetracks, and I've spent a lot of time doing it over the last 5 years. This summer I'm doing 9 events, which for most people is a lot of events. Next year I'll probably go racing, continue instructing, and do other events just for fun. I drive with the BMW Club, and they generally run a pretty tight ship. Unfortunately, that's not true of all events that are out there, and especially if you're interested in getting into this, there's some things you should know. So if you're going to a BMW event, this is what you can expect. If you're running an event and you want to run a proper driver's meeting, the driver's meeting is one of the most important safety aspects of an event. When you're on a racetrack and you're focusing on your driving and you're focusing on how to go fast through corners and these sorts of things, especially if you've got an instructor beside you yelling at you, that could be me, that could be somebody else, or even worse, if you have nobody beside you in the car with any experience because you happen to go to an event that doesn't have anybody, there are some things you need to do to make it safe. So here's what a typical driver's meeting is, and this hopefully becomes a good guide for other people running driver's meetings. And for the record, I don't run driver's meetings, I don't run events, I just go to a lot of them. And I recently went to an event by a group that was fantastic. It was a good event at a very safe track. I was fairly new to the track. I'd done an event there before, and they'd had a basic driver's meeting. Unfortunately, this event, because of the way it was run, because of the people involved, they weren't able to pull off a quick driver's meeting just to give everybody the baseline. So we got it on the track, and we didn't really know exactly what everybody was doing. And that's a bit of a problem. So here goes. We're driving for fun. We're not racing. If you're racing, you have to graduate up through some kinds of driving schools, get a racing license, develop situational awareness, and drive with other people who have that skill. That's really important. You don't go out to a track day to race. You go to a track day to have fun, drive fast, learn, and hopefully have a really good time in a safe environment. It becomes a lot less fun when you break your car and have to tow it home, especially if you drove it there. Worse yet, if you have to explain why said car is broken to your spouse when something's gone wrong. Now, any event, there's going to be drivers of different skill levels. There's going to be drivers with different levels of cars, with more horsepower, less horsepower, more sports cars, more sedans. I've even seen Volkswagen Tiguan's out on track, and Jeeps and Range Rovers and such at some beginner events. And that's all okay. So, on the track, we have passing rules. Passing is a lot of the safety elements on the track. Passing is cooperative at track events. That means that there needs to be car-to-car communication. And car-to-car communication means you have to have some signals. The slower car always indicates to the faster car that they can pass and when it's safe to do so. Typically, there are passing zones. The passing zones are usually straights. You really don't want to have people passing either at the apex or the middle of a corner or through a twisty section of track that's technical or hard to maneuver where somebody's attention is probably on something else. Whoever's running the track event should determine where the passing zones are. Typically straights, not technical pieces of track, and technically you really want to get those passes done before you get too close to the corner. So what you do as a slower car is you stick your arm out the window and you point to the side you want the person to pass. You have to do that. There is an alternative to that, especially if it's pouring rain and the windows are up. You can use a signal, and you can use your signal. You signal to the left to say, pass me on the left, or you signal to the right to say, pass me on the right. That's really important. So if you want them to pass on the right, point to your right. If you want them to pass on the left, point to the left. Then you maintain your position on the track. So the slower car maintains the racing line or driving line or consensus line or the line that they would naturally want to take on the track. The faster car's responsibility is to go off of that line, go around that car safely, and then pick up their line where it's safe to do so. Now, when do you initiate the pass? You either initiate the pass somewhere between the safe exit of a corner, on the straight, or on the entrance to a corner. And by entrance, I don't mean at the last minute. I mean, you might be halfway up a short straight, you give them the signal, pass me on the right, and then as you're going into the corner, the other car takes the inside line, closer to the inside of the corner, and goes there. It's important to remember where passing zones are safe and what side to pass on. Some clubs and some events and some tracks are more strict about this than others. At Calabogie, they literally have a sign at every straight that says, this is a passing zone, pass on this side. That means you can drive up and know that the corner at the end goes right, therefore the passing zone is the right. So here's the trick. You're going down a straight, the straight goes right at the end. You say, pass me on the right, you maintain your line, which is going to be on the left, and that car goes out around you, and it may have time to move back over, it may just have to enter the corner shallow, and that's all right. That's safe, because both cars know what's going on. I come up on you, you say, pass me on the right. I go offline, I pass you, and then I pick my line back up, and off we go. You knew I was passing you, I knew you knew I was passing you. Everybody's safe. So I drive a 97 BMW M3 that is gutless by today's standards. It has 240 horsepower, which is like Honda Accord horsepower these days. So I have a lot of people, even less experienced drivers, that can pass me. So I'm constantly maintaining both vision ahead for slower cars and vision behind me to make sure that everything's safe. So if there's a car that comes up on me that I'm letting pass, what I'll often do is I'll give them the passing signal, and then I will brake early or I will lift to get rid of them, and then I can pick up my driving and not have to be worried about it. Okay, so the main principle here, the slower car maintains the driving line. The passing car goes offline to complete the pass. The pass is typically on the same side as the direction the corner goes at the end of the straight. That means if the end of the passing zone it goes right, the pass happens on the right. If the end of the zone it goes left, the pass happens on the left. Now, point bys, as I mentioned earlier, when you're pointing a car by, make sure it's clear. You do one point by for every car. That means arm goes out the window and you point to the side you want them to go for each car. There's one car, two cars, three cars. Don't stick your little finger up over there, kind of wiggle it. That doesn't work. Nobody knows what the hell you're doing. Also be careful when you stick your arm out this way that there's no car or something to hit there. You want to kind of point that way, you make sure it's clear, but again, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points for the number of cars you want to let pass. If you point and 3 cars go past, but you only saw the first one, you could start to move across the track and not realize there were 2 other cars there. And that's where we get into hairy situations, which may not matter at highway speeds, but at 180 kilometers an hour at the end of the straight, at Mosport, for example, that could be a real issue. And if there was car-to-car contact at that point, somebody could actually get pretty badly hurt. And so far, at none of the events that I've been at has anybody been hurt, although there have been some horrific events that have happened over the last 5 years at different tracks with different clubs. Mostly not due to passing, because most of those clubs have solid solutions in terms of passing rules. The mechanical is a different situation. Having a mechanical failure does happen, and it can take out the car with the mechanical. If it drops fluid, it can take the car behind it. That's about heads-up driving. That's a topic from another video. You can keep yourself safe in those situations, but you need to be very aware of what's going on around you. And typically these things don't happen in the beginner levels. They typically happen in the higher end levels when people are pushing their cars harder. So if you're just starting out, you probably don't need to worry about it, and you'll have an instructor there next to you to help you out. Okay. Passing smarts. It's everybody's responsibility to keep everybody else safe on the track. We need to look out for each other out there. And that means we need to make sure that if you're not sure that that was a passing signal, don't take it. If somebody gives you a passing signal and you're uncomfortable taking it, don't take it. If somebody clearly wants a passing signal from you and you don't feel comfortable giving it at that point in time, don't give it. Wait till the next place you feel safe. Do not try to outrun the guy that wants the pass. Somebody's behind you, maybe 2 cars behind you, and you think, oh shit, I could be faster. I don't need to give him a pass. I can drive quicker. I've got the turbo and he's just in a Civic. Guess what? That guy in the Civic probably has more skill. Let him go past. Now, not a big deal, but if you're new to the track and you're in your first few events, you need to feel comfortable letting the pass happen. You need to have a certain amount of car control. Hopefully you have an instructor with you to make you more comfortable taking care of this, and they should keep an eye on your mirrors as well. But do not drive your mirrors. When you get onto the straight, this is how I do it. When I get out of a corner, I check my mirrors. Anybody behind me that I need to let pass? No, I'm good. When I get to the end of the straight, I check my mirrors. Anybody behind me I need to let pass in the next passing zone? No. So it's a check, check, check. I'm not sitting there staring at the mirror. Don't stare at the mirror. You need to be looking ahead. Track's coming at you pretty quick, or it should be, or you're not doing something right. And if you look in the mirror all the time, it's going to catch you off guard. Driver distraction, #1 reason that things go wrong. So make sure that you're looking ahead, you're looking far ahead, and you check your mirrors every once in a while. Now, sometimes I have trouble getting my students to get a pass, even if they're pretty quick. So there's clearly a car holding us up, and at the end of every straight, or the end of every section of corners or twisties, we get up on their tail. But my students are often uncomfortable getting close to the other car ahead. Or they take a position on the track expecting a pass, and they don't get a pass, and they can't figure out why. Here's the trick. When you come up on a car to get a pass, the typical thing is to set yourself up to take the pass, which means you're off to the right and behind, or off to the left and behind. You're waiting for the passing signal. For most people, those are blind spots. So you come up on the car behind them like this, and they can't see you. You don't get the passing signal. Pull up right behind the car. Get in their mirrors. Let them see a closing rate so they can see you getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger in their mirror. Oh, this guy's faster than me. I need to give him a pass. Great. Passing signal or passing signal, depending on the side that's appropriate. And then you can gently pull out, accelerate, complete the pass, or pull out, wait for them to brake, and then go around them. And then you can execute the pass safely. That's important. Do not pull up beside a car hoping that they're going to see you. Pull up right behind them. Let them see a closing rate so they know you're faster. People are usually pretty sensitive to that, and it'll usually cue them to check their mirror because they'll see something getting bigger in their mirror out of the corner of their eye, and that works really well. So if you want the pass, pull up right behind them. Now, worst thing to do, sit 2 car lengths behind and just pace them. They go, oh, this guy's fun to drive with. He's the same speed as me. We'll go through corners together. Maybe you'll let him pass in a little bit, and then I'll hang behind him for a while. If you want to pass, you have to see a closing rate. So you start from well behind them and get up close. Depending on how advanced a group you're running with, you don't want to get too close, but you want to get close enough that they know you're there. For a beginner class, I'd say 2 car lengths. Way too close on the railroad. Don't do that on the railroad. On the racetrack, we're all going the same direction. We know which way the corner goes. Hopefully there's instructors to keep you safe. There's marshals looking ahead to give you a signal of what's happening. And so it's a safe place to go and do that. You can get pretty close to cars on the racetrack when you're all doing the same thing with a certain level of skill. Do not hang back too far or they won't accept it as a pass. They'll say, oh, this guy's keeping up with me. That's not what you want. You want the message to be, I'm on your tail, I'm looking for a pass, and I'm here. So get up on them. 2 car lengths is a good rule of thumb for that. Okay, marshals. I touched on marshals. Marshals are your eyes and ears, mostly your eyes, on the track. At most racetracks, the corners are blind or you can't see ahead, and you're entering those corners quite quickly. That means on a regular road, you wouldn't enter those corners that quickly because you can't see what's on the other side, because you're going to get around that corner, see there's something on the road, and not be able to stop. That would be true on a racetrack, but that's why we have marshals. Marshals are typically positioned at the corners. They wear white, they have flags, and they will wave at you various flags depending on what's going on. So if you're coming into a corner, particularly a fast one, flip your eyes up, look for the marshal. Make sure you know where the marshals are on the track. You don't see a flag, you're okay. Keep going. You see a flag, obey it. Sometimes those flags will be there to keep you safe. Sometimes they're there to give you shit. Sometimes they're there to make you know something that you wouldn't know otherwise. And ultimately, they're there to keep you and everybody else safe. Marshals do this, it's like a thankless job. Marshals do this because I don't really know why. It seems like a horrible way to spend a day is flagging a bunch of other drivers. But God bless them, because without them, we would have no safety and we would have a lot of trouble. So here's your flags. If you see a green flag, it means everything's good. If you see a green flag, it could be a signal that it's time to go. In other words, open track ahead, yellow is cleared, something like that. Generally, green flag means go, no problem. Yellow flag, waving, something's on the track ahead. Gently slow down, get your eyes up, make sure you know what's happening. They might point at something, they might point at you. Get your eyes up and make sure you know what's going on. The body language of the marshal will tell you a lot. If you see a standing yellow flag, it means no passing. And if you see a waving yellow flag for that section, it means no passing. So don't pass, eyes up, keep your eyes ahead, look for the thing that's wrong. They might be pointing at it. Black flag, if it's pointed at you, you did something bad, you need to go in and have a talking to. Probably some mistake. I've been black flagged for things like arm out the window, or hood not done up, or window beside the passenger is not down. Things like that. Roof, okay, forget that. Meatball flag is a black flag with a red dot in it. It means there's something wrong with your car. It'll be waved and pointed at you. Get off the driving line. You're probably dripping oil and making everything difficult for everybody. Get off the driving line. If they're really aggravated, if the marshal looks aggravated, get off the track entirely and just stop the car, wait for a tow truck to come get you. That's the way to do it. It means there's something wrong, and something wrong with your car could affect everybody else by slowing the track down because they got to go clean it up, or worse, creating a situation where the track is slippery behind you because you're dropping coolant or oil, and that could cause the next guy to crash if he doesn't see what's going on. Now, if you see a standing black, they're just hanging it out. It means that the session is being black flagged. Safely come into the pits. Don't slow down too much, but don't be running at 10 tenths here either. Make sure you just come into the pit safely, but you want to clear the track fairly quickly. If you see a red flag is used in dangerous situations where they need to generally get an ambulance out. Different tracks have different rules. Some tracks will say, slowly come into the pits, and they'll send the ambulance out and a tow truck out right away. Some places will tell you to come to a stop at the next marshal stand and await instructions. Generally, when a yellow, you back off a little bit, keep your eyes up. With a red, safely pull over and to a marshal stand and stop, or slowly come into the pits. I've never seen anybody badly injured, but if there was a problem, the red flag would keep them much safer, would let them get the ambulance out there faster, and it's serious. Hopefully you don't ever see a red flag, and if you do, hopefully it's not a big deal and it's easily resolved. Okay, blue flag means there's a passing situation. You're coming up on a straight and the marshal starts waving a blue flag at you. We're showing you a little bit of blue flag. The joke is, and I give this credit to the BMW Club, Troy in Ontario here, there's a race coming and you're not in it. That means check your mirror, there's somebody coming up on you and you're gonna have to give a pass. Or the marshal thinks you're gonna have to give a pass, and trust me, they're usually right. So be ready to give a pass and keep an eye out for blue flags. Marshals are typically not looking back down the track where you came from. They're typically looking ahead to make sure they can see where you can't see. But some of them do a pretty good job of keeping an eye on what's coming up, and they'll let you know if there's a passing situation. And it helps keep the flow of traffic going on the track. So make sure you try to do that. Checker flag, session's over, back off a little bit, cool your car down, come into the pits. Really do try to cool your car down. I've seen people with only a couple years experience, but a hot car, come in off the track and their brakes are steaming and there's oil coming out of things and all the plastic in the engine's hot and the brakes are just like sizzling. Back off, don't use the brakes too much. Try to come in, give your car a chance to cool off on the way home. On the way home into the pits, that is. So we've talked about cooperative driving, passing rules, passing smarts. We've talked about the flags and the marshals. If you cover these things in a driver's meeting, it's going to make it a lot safer. If you cover only one thing, cover passing rules, so you know what the signals are to make sure that there's car-to-car communication and the passing can be done safely. Everybody should be using the same signals, even if you're vague about the passing zones. Some tracks aren't that strict about passing zones. And at least if there's simple signals, you know it's going to be okay. So the last thing, and credit to this goes to Evan Weaver. I'm not sure if he made this up or we got it somewhere, but at the BMW Club, we always have a prayer that we say before we go on track at the end of the driver's meeting. So repeat after me. Put your hand on your heart, stand up, face your car. Dear car, I promise to bring you home in the condition I brought you here, minus some brake and tire wear. That is a big deal. You want to make sure that everybody gets to drive home and drive home safe, whether it's a one-day event, a half-day event, or a three-day event. Nothing ruins your experience on track than crunching up your car, and we don't want that to happen to anybody. So again, take passing seriously. This is a big boy sport or a big girl sport. Hopefully more women are coming into these events. Take passing seriously. If it's not safe, doesn't feel safe, probably don't do it. Keep your head up, look far ahead, check your mirrors frequently. Make sure you know what's going on around you. Make sure everybody's using the same signals, and be careful. At the same time, make sure you're having fun, go fast, and learn a lot. So, the driver's meeting. It's worth doing even quickly, and it'll help keep everybody safe, and it'll help keep the event fun. Good luck.